What's going on, guys? This is one of the first YouTube videos I've ever made, and I kind of want to discuss what's been going on currently in my life and what I've been trying to achieve. So, I'm 22 now, and I've been trying to enlist into the Army for about a year and a half now. So, I went through MEPS, took my ASVAB, and did my medical through one recruiter I was working with for a year, and the issue I have currently going on right now is I need a moral conduct waiver. You know, a lot of people can get their moral conduct waivers approved through minor consistencies. So like if you have like a traffic ticket, um, anything like if you like I don't know if you had got in trouble for like marijuana, uh, stuff like that can get approved. Just depends, like, but if you're like trafficking or manufacturing and stuff like that, like have any violence on your record, like any fraud or anything like that, like that they're gonna, you know, you're let alone you're not gonna get a waiver, right? But so I ended up getting in trouble when I was 18 for a controlled substance charge, which was cocaine at the time. I know it's a very hard addicting drug, and I've been sober since then. But the ordeal happened when I was 18 back in 2022, and I was working a lawn care job company, and during that time, my foreman ended up getting me hooked on drugs like that, and I was doing that for a week now, and ended up getting some for my job, and ended up, long story short, ended up getting pulled over, and they found it on me because the person I was with, a coworker that I first ever worked with that day, he was the driver. We got in trouble. Long story short, yeah, they found it, and so I was arrested for a controlled substance charge, which is a felony. And so during that point, that was a really hard point in my life. I definitely had severe, I guess, want to say severe sadness going on in my life because at that point, I felt like my life was over. And, you know, at the long story short, last year in May in 2025, I finished my probation. I was placed on probation for 2 years. I didn't have to do any jail time, didn't serve or anything like that. So that was a blessing. And it was a really hard point in my life to get adjusted to being watched like that. But it was a wake up call. It was something I needed in my life like that because I was being childish and I just wasn't doing the right thing. So after, well, I wouldn't say after, like when I was like halfway through probation, I ended up contacting an Army recruiter, and you know, I told him about my situation. I told him how close I was to being off for probation, and I told him what is the likelihood of potentially getting a waiver sent up and it getting approved. He told me the chances are pretty low, considering that that is a very serious drug charge, but it just depends on the case. And so he said this, once your probation's over, come pay me a visit. So I finished probation in May, ended up getting the chance to meet my recruiter. Um, we had a long conversation. He told me, if we're going to do this, I'm going to need all your documentation of like court records, police reports, anything that the waiver board's going to need. So he's just like, bring it all. Like, bring everything you can of any documentation of what during that time since you were off probation. So I got him. Long story short, ended up finally getting everything that he needed. I wrote a personal statement about what happened, what I've done since then for rehabilitation, and why I want to serve. And I ended up getting like really good references. Like I ended up getting like a reference letter from my probation officer from good conduct, not failing any drug test. Didn't give her any reason to doubt that I was, potentially using again. And yeah, long story short, it took about probably until June until I finally went to my first MEPS visit. I ended up doing my ASVAB, passed it, and it was great to hear that because I was moving in, the right direction. So after I passed, he needed to get a waiver, I guess, for like my physical, I guess. I didn't have anything going on, like I didn't have any medical issues. He just said he needed a waiver for something, so I was like, sure. A month later, for some reason it got approved, right? So I went to do my physical, passed my drug test there, didn't have any medical issues. Pretty much was good to go. It was a pretty quick visit. So the last thing I needed to do was swear in, and things felt like it was finally going my way. I felt like I was going to finally put my past behind me. You know, I was just like, this is it. Like, I'm going to be able to finally join. Like, all my family knew what I was wanting to do. They knew what I went through, the ordeal, the sacrifice I had to do to reform and, be a better law-abiding citizen and be a better human. And, it felt like I had a lot going on. Like, I had a lot on the line. Like, I had friends, family, guidance counselors, I guess, like my pastor and any church friends that I had. They were all having high hopes that, you're going to get this approved. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't. Like, you've done a phenomenal job. You've been an amazing person. So comes time to finally, whenever he gets this waiver sent up, he messed it up kind of a few times. He would never let me see the waiver personally. Found out that he never let me speak to a captain, the person higher above him, to do an initial interview to have him endorse me. So long story short, took about 3 months. He sent it up, and I wasn't hearing anything from him, which was normal, and I was getting anxious about like how long time was going by without hearing anything. And finally, come around December, right? It's around Christmas, it's a day after Christmas happens, and finally text him. I'm like, hey, have you heard anything about this waiver, man? Like, I've been waiting a little while. And he says, yeah, got an update, man. He says, like, I'm gonna update you Monday. Have a good holiday. And I was like, sweet. I was just like, man, all right. Come Monday, give him a call, and he tells me I'm denied. My waiver got denied. It got sent back to him, and the reason for it being was because he said, he says, yeah, at this time you're ineligible until 2027. And that felt like someone shot me right in the chest, right in the freaking chest. I was devastated. Like, I felt hopeless, like that I was going to have to tell my family and friends that, hey, after a year, it got denied. I was really sad about it. And I just felt like giving up about joining. I told myself, maybe, my past has actions, and, it does have consequences, and I'm going to have to live with it for the rest of my life because I was stupid back then. And, I told myself I shouldn't give up. So I ended up posting something on Reddit about discussing my charge, and, was questioning, hey, the Army denied me due to, I guess, it being too soon, I guess, and I need more time. Should I go to Navy? But then, when I was this close, I was just like, I'm not doing this no more. I could probably just go to school. I had like 3 different recruiters reach out to me and wanted to speak to me about this matter. And I spoke, currently, I've been working with this one from Pittsburgh. I found him on Reddit about 2 weeks ago. And, I gave him a call, and I discussed everything to him, what happened, how I was arrested, what I've done since the time, and why I want to join, and what ended up happening with my last recruiter. And he said this, the time frame doesn't make sense to him. He said this, you shouldn't have to wait that long. He's just like, something's not right. Something's not making sense here. He's just like, let me look into your profile and see like how this waiver packet looks. And he says, you never got to see it. And I was just like, no, sir. And he says, okay. And he was looking at it, and he's just like, yeah, that makes sense. He's just like, your recruiter ended up setting this up to like 4 different times, and I'm assuming he didn't want to work with it anymore, that it got kicked back. So, he thought maybe a time thing might fix things. So he's got different applicants he can work with, and at the end of the day, it's a business with recruiters. So I was just shocked. I was just like, wow. I was just like, that's bad to hear, but that's also a relief too that it was that reason, I guess. And he told me he'd be happy to rework my moral packet, have a chance to actually work with me. And I was just like, I was this close to giving up, and yet I had like 3 different recruiters wanting to work with me because they knew this can be waiverable. They know that they can get this waiverable. So I just saw that as a sign. I was just like, you know, maybe I just need to work with, a recruiter that knows what he's doing, that can submit a clean packet. So worked with this recruiter from Pittsburgh. He's amazing. He's been really good. He's been really good on communication. He's been been answering every single question I've been asking him. Has high hopes that it can get approved, depending on how the waiver looks. So, after that initial time frame, I send him all my packets. He's out of state, so I'm currently in Texas, so we're doing everything online, but I sent him everything he needed, like documentations of court, police reports, completed probation paperwork, personal statement, references, the whole shebang. Pretty much, I asked him, "Are you missing anything else?" And he says, "Nope, I have everything I need." He finished the He reorganized everything and finished the waiver in one day, and he actually sent it to me. And I reviewed how the description says about what happened. Everything was where it needed to be. Everything looked right. That wouldn't raise questions to well, this waiver says something different, but the police report says something different as well too. Or it when it gets sent up to like that, they're not gonna waste their time trying to go on a wild goose chase, asking people, so why are these dates mixed up, right? You can have like, it'd be like the date is messed up, right? It could be like, oh, he got in trouble this month, but on the police report it says this month. So that's what was all going on with my last waiver packet. Everything was just very unorganized, and it didn't align with the dates that mattered. So also a good thing too, I had the Pittsburgh recruiter's captain call me and do an initial interview like 2 days before they finally sent up this waiver. And he interviewed me, and, after like a 20-minute phone call, he liked what he heard. He told me, he's just like, "I really appreciate talking to you. Like, I enjoyed our conversation, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off on this waiver and endorse you. I'm going to approve you because, I wouldn't put my name out there if I didn't believe in you." And that uplifted me. Like, that gave me overjoyed me to hear that. Like, I have 2 recommendations. I have a recruiter recommending me that this waiver be approved, and I have his captain. So right now, the waiver's already sent up. I got sent up 2 days ago. So right now, I'm just in the waiting period. So I'm very nervous. I will say this, I'm not gonna bug my recruiter about, when is it gonna come back and stuff like that. I'm giving him time. I'm respecting that he's a busy person. But no, my family all knows that I didn't give up. I'll have a lot of haters tell me, your past reflects on your actions. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. We're all human. We all make mistakes, whether big or small. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, and I made a big one. But I've learned from that mistake since then. I've remained sober. I've maintained a really good I maintain a really good job currently. Right now, I've been employed at this job since I started probation, and I haven't left this job since. It's just a serving job, but it pays my bills, and I talk to people I talk to guests all the time. So it keeps my mind busy a little bit. I go to the gym quite often. I work out like 6 times a week. I'm very healthy. I've remained a sober lifestyle. Yeah, just try to keep myself busy. I'm trying to just leave my past where it belongs, in the past, because I was a child back then. But I don't know if I said this now, but I'm 22 now. So since the incident, since the arrest, 3 years has passed. So a little bit of time has passed, but I don't know how the waiver board's going to look at it, like time length wise. I don't know if they might need more time, like you need 2 more years. But no, I'm trying to stay hopeful that this thing can get approved. Like, I'm yearning to join. Like, I have a really good MOS that I have in mind. I want to be 68 X-ray. I want to be a behavioral health specialist at some point down the road, whenever I ended up leaving the military, once I finish contract, maybe do 2. I want to try to pursue to get my license to be a therapist. And, I have very good goals. I'm very ambitious, and, I strive to be better every single day. So, I guess I'm just making this video, because I want to outreach to people that are going through the same thing. Like, whether they need a medical waiver, right? If they have asthma, hearing, vision, or if you're kind of in my boat, you know, you need a drug waiver, right? You know, it's been a hard road, and I'm very disappointed if I get let down again, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up, right? We're not quitters, you know. No matter how hard we get hit with devastating news, we're going to get back up and become stronger. We're going to be stronger during this, because if you want something so badly, you're never going to give up. No matter how many times you get a no, you're just going to go to somebody else and you're going to try harder. You're going to do everything you can and in your power to do everything you can until it's out of your hands. So, yeah, so it's very, very scary, but I'm keeping a very positive mindset about this waiting period. And, you know, I'm showing good faith towards my recruiter. He did everything he can. His captain did everything he can. I'm super grateful that they've been super communicative, and they've actually took the time out of their day to actually give me a chance, that they believe that this waiver can get approved. So yeah, I think I'm about to end this video now. I just wanted to make this to kind of discuss, you know, my ambitions and what I'm currently going through. So if you guys watch this video, I appreciate y'all. Feel free to drop any questions in the comment section to ask, you know, more about my situation. I'll be happy to discuss it. Or if you just have any questions. So y'all have a good rest of y'all's day. Thank y'all.